copy and paste some of the prompts that I will be going over during the demo. Um, One of the things, though, that I needed to clarify was how many of you currently have your Copilot license activated? I know the activation happened, I believe, yesterday, but it normally takes 24 to 48 hours before you start seeing the Copilot logo on your application. So who on this call has started to see those Copilot logos? Okay, go ahead. Okay, so two people. That's what the hand raising is. Perfect. Okay. So the other, all right. So three people currently are seeing the Copilot logos, and here's an example of what I'm talking about. So let's say you open a PowerPoint presentation and you are on the home section of your ribbon, and if you look to the top right here, you will see the Copilot, logo. That tells you that you have officially been activated and you can now start using Copilot. Okay. All right. For those that have not been activated, we will still be sharing the prompts, and then when you get activated, you can now go in and start doing some hands-on practicing. Ralph, I believe that's how you pronounce your name. If not, please correct me. You still have your hand up. Do you have a question or no? Okay. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right. Damon, you have your hand up. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah. Could you show that again? I'm on Mac, and so I didn't recognize what you showed.
Oh, sure. So if you open any M365 application on Mac, so for example, if you go to PowerPoint and you click on the Home ribbon and you look to the top right here, you will see the Copilot icon.
Okay, so I see the icon, but I don't see the menu Copilot listed.
Okay, so you see the Copilot icon, correct?
Correct, but not Copilot up next to Adobe.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine if you don't see the exact same menu item that I see here. But if you click on that Copilot icon, you should now see the composition sidebar.
Right, it's there, just the menu is missing on Mac. Above the ribbon?
Right, understood. Okay.
Thank you.
Good to know what that people using Mac are seeing a different menu. So that would be something we can point out, or we should point out when doing our future training delivery. Okay. All right. Okay, so in regards to an overview of Copilot, something to notice is this. Copilot really isn't just a better way of doing the same thing. It is an entirely new way of working. So something that we normally say is that for all the value that Copilot for M365 brings to individual users and your broader organization, the architecture itself is fundamentally very simple. Copilot really combines the power of LLMs, which is large language models. It combines that with your Microsoft Graph, as well as your M365 applications and the web, to deliver you with accurate, relevant, and powerful responses. Going on to the next slide. The Microsoft Graph, which is something that I just mentioned, is a term that might be new to some of you. A lot of times people say, hey, Obi, what do you mean by Microsoft Graph? All of you have a Microsoft Graph. It is really a term that it is really the foundation of how you use your M365 applications. I normally say your Microsoft Graph is really the connective tissue that binds all your M365 interactions, including data from Outlook, SharePoint, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, and more. So all of these interactions and the data is really, it makes up your Microsoft Graph. The question then becomes, how does Copilot interact with your Microsoft Graph? And the best way to explain that is using a visual. So let's say you prompt Copilot. And this is also another area where people say, hey, Ori, what do you mean prompt Copilot? Basically, when you ask Copilot a question, you are prompting Copilot. When you tell Copilot to do something, you are prompting Copilot. So let's say you prompt Copilot to do something. Copilot now goes into the Microsoft Graph. And sometimes it can also go into the web, depending on whether you tell it to go into the web. It then searches for the information. It then formulates the response and provides you with requested information. Sometimes people have concerns about when looking into my Microsoft Graph, what does it take into account? And so this is a good point to outline what it takes into account. It takes into account user permissions, data security, and also compliance policies. It really only generates responses based on the information you, the user, what you have permission to access. It would never review any documentation or any file that you do not have access to. Microsoft is very committed to responsible AI and also protecting your data. This is also another good point to emphasize that if you have a document that has a confidential, I think it's confident or very confident status, sensitivity status, Copilot would also not interact with that document. And this is important to note because sometimes, and I will outline this and emphasize on it when doing the demo, sometimes people say, I'm trying to get Copilot to interact with a file, but it's not doing that. Why not? And I normally say, what's the sensitivity status on that file? And then they look at it and they say, oh, it's confident or very confident. And I say, yes, that's why. Because Copilot has to respect the sensitivity that you or your organization has placed on a file. Okay. All right. I think we already discussed this earlier in regards to how do you know that your Copilot has been activated, and where are the places you can access Copilot from? One of the ways is really the browser. So if you enter this URL, you can now use Copilot. And let me show what I'm referring to. So this URL will lead to this other URL, but it's basically your Copilot using a browser. And so you can interact with Copilot here. You can say things like, review my conversations with John Doe over the last week and prepare me for a meeting that I have with John Doe on Friday or next Monday. You can say, I just came back from vacation I've been gone for 1 week or 2 weeks. Hey, Copilot, let me know what I missed. Let me know the key action items that have been assigned to me while I was on vacation. So we will go into a little bit more detail when doing the demo, but the web is one way you can use Copilot. Teams app is another one. So when you go to your Teams, you will see the Copilot logo on the left. At the bottom of your screen, you can also pin Copilot to be able to use that often. And then, as referenced earlier, your various applications, you should see the Copilot logo on the top right. Okay? All right. Now, prompting. I did mention how people will often say, hey, Obi, what is this prompting about? Well, we realize that it is essential to outline best prompting practices. And so that's what we are going to cover next. What we are looking at here is a sample prompt to Copilot that says, generate this number of points to help me prepare for a meeting with a client, to discuss something with the client. Focus on these particular sources. So go into Teams, emails, and chat for this information since June. Use plain language. I could also have said use professional language or use a sixth grade level language. What are these different components that are integrated into this prompt?